Hello, welcome to Casual Veteran Gamer, and in this Baldur's Gate 3 video we are going to look at a ranger build called Mr Tavvles-Ti-May. Mr Tavvles-Ti-May was brought up in a school for assassins after being taken in as a foundling. During his time there he picked up the knack of slipping in and out of places unnoticed and, if needed, bluffing his way into a victim's house. He was always slightly unconventional in the way he treated animals, especially cats, and currently he is inseparable from his cat companion, Mr Tavvles. They make quite a pair, with Mr Tavvles always scouting ahead, mostly being ignored since, after all, how much danger does a cat really pose? After graduating from his school for assassins, he took a job at a business specialising in tracking people down across the plains and taking them in, dead or alive. From his work as a bounty hunter, he has become quite proficient at following clues and investigating small details. He was on a job to track down some trolls when Mr Tavvles-Ti-May was scooped up by the fated nautiloid invasion. So here is Mr Tavvles-Ti-May. He is a criminal, which is where these proficiencies come from. He grew up as a criminal, but then got taken in by a bounty hunting business, so he's still sometimes using his criminal roots to get through things. He is a Zariel Tiefling, which gives him Thaumaturgy at level 1 and +1 strength and +2 charisma with dark vision and resistance to fire damage. His class is a ranger. For the class passive, we're going for bounty hunter, which represents his job, and he's going for beast tamer because this is how he has a strong bond with Mr Tavvles, his cat, which also gives him investigation proficiency. For the skills we're choosing, we are picking animal handling, which is how he gets along with Mr Tavvles so well. He's picking up perception because, well, he can spot hidden details very well. If he wasn't able to do this, he wouldn't be a very good bounty hunter. And survival, because he sometimes tracks prey in the wilds for quite a long time. His ability points, we're going for 15 strength, dex and con at 14, intelligence 10, wisdom 12, charisma 10. Nothing over the top, nothing amazing. This is odd on purpose, it will go up to an even number later, but otherwise it's kind of average stats. So Mr Tavvles-Ti-May has found himself on the nautiloid, and he's spotted this Githyanki up here. He's quite the pragmatic character, and he is more than happy to get any help that he can get at the moment. So he will definitely be happy to team up with Lair, and I think over time he gets impressed with her martial prowess. After taking stock of the situation, Mr Tavvles-Ti-May can see that although the nautiloid is damaged, it's not actually losing altitude. So before going into the centre of a nautiloid, like a mind flayer controlled ship, he's going to get Mr Tavvles to help him out. So Mr Tavvles is going to make his way. He's going to head towards the helm and just basically check out if it's dangerous or not. And this is kind of what Mr Tavvles-Ti-May will be doing quite a lot. He'll be using his cat as a scout. I mean, why put himself in danger when he can bring back the cat at any point? So although Mr Tavvles isn't exactly the strongest fighter, he can still break down small barriers. Still be a little bit annoying to the enemies. So before going into the helm, Mr Tavvles is going to creep along, stalk along, trying to keep out of danger. And he spots that there's a route on the left. Alright, so at this point, Mr Tavvles, although he's fearless, isn't stupid, knows the odds are against him. So he's just going to kind of hang out here and wait to see what happens. Now, Commander Zok is dead, which is pretty good for us. So before even reaching the helm, we've reached level 2. How great is that? And we'll bring Mr Tavvles back. So we're now at level 2. So Mr Tavvles-Ti-May gets to choose some spells. Now he's all about getting around, trying to get to places he shouldn't be. He's pretty much going to take Long Strider and jump. And as for a fighting style, he doesn't really want to specialise in any one particular type of fighting. So what he's going to do is going to give himself archery, because his dexterity isn't great, and he's going to find some way to increase his strength to kind of even them out. Mr Tavvles-Ti-May will happily free anybody who he thinks might help him out. So he's going to get Shadowheart on his side, at which point we can level up Shadowheart as well. Brilliant. And so normally, I haven't done it yet, but normally, at the beginning of the day, Mr Tavvles-Ti-May realizes the benefits of being able to run further and faster. He will cast Long Strider on himself after every long rest. And we need to be careful here, because while this imp still lives, the Mind Flayer will still be on our side. So what he's going to do is cast Jump on himself, We can try and jump as far past the imp as possible. And start trying to kill the Mind Flayer before it turns on us. And while we are here, we'll pick up the Everburn Blade. There we are. The reason for that is we also get 50 extra experience. Lovely jubbly. And here are the Cambions. We've got to get past these guys, right. And with the jump capability, get all the way over to here and save Mr. Tavvles. Not before, though. He has a swipe at that imp. Yeah. Let's get off this nautiloid. After landing on the beach, very first thing, get Mr. Tavvles back. And then, as before, cast Longstrider. Now we can just about see Shadowheart in the distance, so he is actually going to go speak to her first. And he will try and reach for the artifact. Quite curious as to what it is. Oh, but there's Shadowheart, waking up. Alright, and then yeah, he's going to take her with him. Going to group up. He knows he might need some help. And then it's at this point, Mr. Tavvles gets to work. So again, I might just speed up the video at this point. But Mr. Tavvles is going to go do a whole bunch of scouting. Thankfully, these people are not aggressive. But Mr. Tavvles is a clever little cat. He realizes he is going to be able to take care of this Mind Flayer. Since cats do exactly 3 damage every single time with their, what's this, claw attack? Yep, 1+2. And that Mind Flayer had exactly 3 hit points left. So finding waypoints. Found another waypoint here on the Ravaged Beach. Or we'll do soon, I think. There we are, the Overgrown Ruins. Found us a chest. Oh, a couple of tieflings. Gonna trigger the Druid Grove defense, at least the first one. So depending on the initiative, Mr. Tavvles was very lucky there. He's probably going to make an escape, thankfully. So Mr. Tavvles has no reason to stand and fight. And while that fight's going on, the other two are going to go teleporting around. And here's Gale. May as well bring him with us. There we are, and some extra experience. And we'll know when it's Mr. Tavvles' turn, because he will become not faded, or kind of become highlighted. So let's level up Gale in the meantime. And let's go say hello to Lair. Now, you see, Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May didn't really grow up around tieflings. He's got no particular allegiance to them. So he's going to try and get them away using his proficiency in deception. Oh, look at that. He's right. And we'll also see Mr. Tavvles has become highlighted. So he's just going to continue running away. And Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May is impressed enough with Lair's martial prowess that will definitely travel with her for now. Oh, Mr. Tavvles has become highlighted. So he's going to continue his flight away from the fight. There we are. And we're out of the fight. So we're going to continue our little scouting expedition here. Oh, 60 experience. I guess the Druid Grove fight is over. Now I'm going to creep around, trying not to attract any attention. Found our way to the Blighted Village. Alright, I think that's enough scouting for now. After scouting out the local area, Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May is then going to pretty much clear up. Going to go and take care of these guys. He'll go over to Astarion, teleport to the Grove, and see what's going on inside the Grove before moving on to the village. Now, Tavvay-Ti-May isn't naturally the most charismatic character out there, but don't forget he's either got proficiency in deception, or, if we're going to choose performance, he will always have thaumaturgy, and I guess Shadowheart here has got a guidance for us. Now, thaumaturgy can't be used in every situation, but it's always nice to have. It's a good cantrip. Here is Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May at level 3. At level 3, Rangers get the choice of subclass. Now, he's not going to be a Beastmaster. He's got his one animal companion. He is not a Beastmaster. He isn't going to want to replace Mr. Tavvles. He is a hunter. He is a bounty hunter, in fact. And he's on his way to kill some trolls, which we can't find in early access, but I assume they'll be here at some point later in the game. And so he thinks, you know, what better thing than to become a giant killer, since trolls are giants. I must concede that of the 3 choices here, Giant Killer is probably the least useful. There aren't a huge number of large creatures in the game, but it does mean that when he comes across a large creature, he is going to be running in, trying to make sure he gets attacked so he can make an extra attack back. As for spells, he is a bounty hunter, so Hunter's Mark kind of makes sense here. Also gives him just a nice little boost to damage. He's not going to replace any spells, and as a Zariel Tiefling, he gets Legacy of Avernus, Searing Smite. So your weapon, it deals an extra 2d6 fire damage and marks the target with Searing Smite. This is a bit odd because I'm just noticing now that the damage on the screen is 2d6 plus 3 plus 1d4 plus 2d6. He's got a longsword, which doesn't do 2d6 damage. This looks like it's actually giving us information for what Lae'zel is carrying right now, which is the Everburn Blade, which does the extra 1d4 damage and does 2d6, and her bonus is plus 3. And I would say, yeah, it's a nice little thing here. A little bonus when he's probably up close, and it's quite good because if he ever does come across a troll, they have regeneration, and the fire will stop the regeneration for that round, presumably if it works in the same way that 5th edition does. Although the gloves of power are awesome if you get branded, Ta-Vay-Ti-May is not going to get branded. He doesn't want to submit to some other higher power. He is his own bounty hunter. He makes his own way in the world. So he might pick them up, but he's also going to sell them. While in the Druid Grove, Mr Ta-Vay-Ti-May will pick up a few pieces of basic equipment, being a helmet, metallic gloves, metallic boots. He's going to pick up a Morning Star also. It's his favoured weapon. He finds that stopping someone's heart, or bashing them over the head, tends to knock them out, stop them. It lets him get his bounty. He's also picked up Scale Mail Armor +1, which is the same armor class as the Githyanki Halfplate. And also, quite importantly, actually, he's got Spell Thief, because he will be making ranged attacks, and once per short rest, he can regain a spell slot if he lands a critical hit. In an attempt to use the Giant Killer ability, it's his turn, but if he lets the Ogre perform an opportunity attack, should hopefully be able to whack him back. There we are. Right, so you can actually get 2 attacks per turn. If you had an offhand weapon, it could be 3 attacks per turn against a giant creature if you decide that having an opportunity attack is worth it. At level 4, we get to have the choice of an ability score improvement or a feat. Now, you can be forgiven for thinking that Mr Tav-Ti-May might just put strength up by 2. It's a good choice, no doubt about that. But that's not what he's about. He's about chasing down and running after his prey, making sure he's right up in their face, ready to deal damage. As a consequence, he will be picking mobile, so his speed will go up by 10. He will be able to evade opportunity attacks, and if there's difficult terrain, if he dashes, it won't slow him down. There are a few other good choices though. Great Weapon Master would be okay, although he doesn't use heavy weapons. Just having this extra opportunity for a melee weapon attack as a bonus action with a critical hit or when he kills a creature is nice. He could potentially pick some of the magic initiates just for some cantrips. Martial Adept would be quite fitting, I think, since he is quite happy to be a kind of martial sort of character. Tough, just because he is a tough guy as well, would also be useful, or even just Dexterity +2. Dexterity is just such a great stat. He doesn't get any extra armor class with a medium armor, but his ranged attacks would be better saving throws, higher initiative, and all of the abilities that go with Dexterity. Anyway, he's going with mobile. He wants to be chasing down his targets. Mr Tavern, since he just comes from nowhere, and depending on your point of view, either this is a good thing or bad thing, Mr Taverns can be used to scout out for traps. So every time he fooled to a trap, just bring him back. It's walking along, covering as much of the area as possible. Poor old Mr Tavvles. He's gone. No more Mr Tavvles. But then, it's okay. We can bring him back. And he goes along again, just making sure there are no traps on the floor. Now, obviously, I don't know exactly where the traps are. However, oh, there's another one gone. So yeah, now the way should be mostly clear. I think there's still a trap down here. But yeah, don't be afraid to use Mr Tavvles. After reducing the hag down to a low number of hit points, we will get the option to perhaps get some power from her. Mr Tav-Ti-May doesn't normally put people into danger unless they're on a contract, unless he's hunting them down. He sees no reason why my arena should be taken away by some evil hag, so he will try and intimidate the hag. There we are, successfully intimidated. Alright, so off she goes. So now in our inventory, make sure you've got Mr Tav-Ti-May highlighted. We have a piece of hair that gives the consumer +1 bonus to strength permanently. So he will take that. So his strength is now 16, dexterity and constitution at 14, and wisdom at 12. And now he's ready to go out into the world and kick some ass. So I'm currently in the Shattered Sanctum after killing the hag, and Mr Tav-Ti-May picked up the Ever-Seeing Eye. He's quite happy to give himself or someone else protection against all of these otherworldly beings. And while in the Shattered Sanctum itself, he picked up the Ring of Poison Resistance. So now he is resistant to fire damage from being a tiefling and poison damage. And he picked up Crusher's Ring because having this on top of Mobile and Longstrider gives him a very, very high movement speed. He's also not silly, although he does prefer the Morning Star. He hasn't found the Morning Star +1, so he's taken the next best +1 single-handed weapon that he's found right now, which is a Rapier +1. Being a ranger, he's actually quite happy to change between any weapon because he's proficient with all weapons, but he does want to keep the shield. He wants his high armor class. And so we're actually going to proceed into the Underdark now. When in the Underdark, don't forget to do the scouting ahead. Mr. Tavvles will happily walk around the Underdark. He does have dark vision, which apparently in the monster manual for 5th edition, cats actually don't, which is kind of funny. Unfortunately, the Minotaurs are aggressive towards everything, so Mr. Tavvles here will do his best to get out of danger. Thankfully, he got to go first. And at the same time, Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May, where is he? He's going to be leading the charge. Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May will be leading the group towards Mr. Tavvles to make sure he doesn't get into trouble. There we are. Should be safe now. At this point, Mr. Tavvles will do his best to stay out of combat. Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May will run on in, get Hunter's Mark going, and start to whittle down the Minotaur. Hopefully, he'll get attacked by it as well, so we can get extra attacks back. Just there, what did we see? Yeah, just there we saw the Minotaur hit into Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May, who then got his reaction with Giant Killer and actually killed the Minotaur. And upset at how much damage these Minotaurs are causing, we're going to try and use Searing Smite, which will get rid of Hunter's Mark, which I've just cast. Oh, never mind. Oh, missed. It missed. So we're going to try again, hitting this guy, setting him up for Lae'zel. You just knock him down. Tavvay-Ti-May will happily work with Lae'zel on the front lines, and they make quite a good team together. There's no guarantee that the Bulette will go after our ranger here, because this especially the Bulette does jump around. And actually, he's already knocked Gale off the side. Nice, which is why we don't have Gale here, and he's dead. Doesn't matter how fast the Bulette goes, Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May will be able to keep up, and Lae'zel will also be helping things along. This time we can get advantage by hiding. Oh, a critical hit. We take him down. Mr. Tavvay-Ti-May's story is not over. His journey has not finished. He hasn't found these trolls that he was tasked to find. But let me know what you think of him. He hasn't fought all of the large creatures in early access. For example, there's still the Spectator and Grim, and there's probably a few more. I haven't actually killed the ogre on here. If you like this build, like a more roleplay build, do check out some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, please do consider subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.